Hello there guys, what is going on? SonOfChelsea back here again for my team selector and preview ahead of tomorrow night's game against Arsenal in the Premier League at Stamford Bridge. I think the big narrative thing going into this game is Chelsea are so close now to securing Champions League football, securing their place in the top four, whether that's third or fourth, but big for Chelsea. That Marcos Alonso late winner feels like such a big goal now. The feeling that this race was going to go down to the wire, but the results that happened last weekend, it was nearly a perfect weekend for Chelsea, apart from Liverpool beating Southampton, Leicester losing 4-2 to Newcastle on Friday night, Leeds smashing Spurs 3-1 on Saturday lunchtime, and of course West Ham losing to Everton at home on Sunday afternoon. It's all gone in Chelsea's favour, and basically the situation now is pretty simple for Chelsea. If we beat Arsenal tomorrow night at Stamford Bridge and then Liverpool lose to Man United away on Thursday evening, top four could be secured before we kick off in the FA Cup final, which makes that Leicester game, which I think a lot of us felt was going to be so huge for both sides, may actually be more huge for Leicester than Chelsea, given where we currently sit. It would mean that Liverpool can't catch us anymore, and also West Ham could catch us if we lose our final two games, but of course we have a superior goal difference to the Hammers. So all round, it's a great position for Chelsea to be in. And I've said this for weeks, even after the West Brom defeat, Chelsea simply had to secure top four. It's been in our hands, and luckily results elsewhere have gone in Chelsea's favour. But I think compared to other seasons, Chelsea really have earned this spot in recent weeks under Thomas Tuchel. We've got some big wins. It isn't a case that we're being bailed out after poor results. So that's a great thing to be in, a really strong position to be in, and really sums up the positive and strong momentum under Thomas Tuchel we've seen since his arrival in January, and just lessens the pressure on those final two games. You think about last season, going down to the wire against Wolves, the pressure and intensity against Wolves on our final day of last season. Hopefully, and it seems like very likely now, Chelsea will not have that same pressure, and hopefully it can be done this week. But if not, we know that 3 points gets us so close, and we need to win one of our final two games against Leicester and Aston Villa to secure it. So very close now. Team news going into this game, Mateo Kovacic still not ready, unfortunately, confirmed by Thomas Tuchel. It seems like a race now for Kovacic to be ready for the FA Cup final, but even if he is, I think it would be at best a place on the bench. Basically, I don't think he'll be starting the game given the lack of football he's had. As I was just mentioning with the top four race, if Chelsea's final two games are basically dead rubbers, I think that's perfect for Mateo Kovacic to get his fitness back up, get in the first team. You could potentially rest both Jorginho and Kante after the FA Cup final if they've both played that game, so and get them ready for the Champions League final, and gives Kova the opportunity to potentially get into that Champions League final starting 11, because you don't know Tuchel's tactics for that game, may want to switch things up, but hopefully Kova can be ready. The other bit of injury news, Christensen, of course, we knew was not going to be ready for this game after being forced off at half-time against Man City. It's a little bit frustrating, of course, because he's been such a big player for us. He's in the form of his career currently at Chelsea, and that mistake and coupled with the injury, you're worried his season was going to be over. Tuchel pretty adamantly said in his press conference today his season is not over, but it's very unlikely he plays in the FA Cup final, which of course could have been such a big day for Christensen to be involved with. It wouldn't be his first final for Chelsea, of course, starring, I think, wasn't it the Baku final against Arsenal in 2019, him and David Luiz playing together. So, I think Christensen, hopefully he can be ready for that Champions League final, because I think if he's fit by the time we reach that Champions League final, I think it's very likely he starts that game given his great form. But as I said, so close to top four. It's not just about top four, of course. Whenever Chelsea play Arsenal, it's a big game. It really is. It's one of those games you look out for on the calendar, and a bit of revenge for Chelsea potentially this season, because you think back to that awful Boxing Day defeat. I remember being here. In retrospect, it was the start of the end for Frank Lampard. It really was, that defeat, given how bad Arsenal were at the time. But I think it's why you have to be cautious going into this game. I think it's very easy to look at Arsenal with how poor they've been under Arteta. I mean, it really is staggering the low levels they've got to this season. Seeing them against Villarreal, the way they limply went out the Europa League in their biggest game of the season, just incredible how toxic it continues to get at that club, considering how big they are in this country in terms of English football. Let's take a look at Arsenal more in depth. Look at their last 5 games, 2 wins in their last 5. In terms of the Premier League, it's kind of been done for a few months now in terms of where they are. All of the focus has very much been on the Europa League, pinning their hopes on that, winning that competition and getting into the Champions League basically through the back door, because they don't really deserve it in terms of being there in the Premier League, because they've been so far off the pace. And there's so much, of course, apathy from the fans currently towards Mikel Arteta. Will he be there next season? Will he be sacked at the end of the season? I think that the problem is with Arteta and trying to get ready for this game is trying to identify what Mikel Arteta's Arsenal are really. You could maybe look at the games against Chelsea where they've performed expertly, but that has not been the norm, unfortunately, for Mikel Arteta at Arsenal. I'm unsure what Arsenal are anymore in terms of their identity. At least with the frailties of late Wenger, you knew what the style of play was, very possession based, attack minded style of play. He had very much a set culture and philosophy. I don't know what Arteta's Arsenal are. At times they're a 3-back, at times they're a 4-back. He switched formations. He switched formations for both legs of the Villarreal semi-final, and I think that tells you a lot about the lack of certainty he has about his squad at the moment, and a lot of players lacking confidence. But there is quality within his squad, and a bit like Chelsea, comes from younger talent. The younger talent that has come through at Arsenal this season, it is quite exciting, and are the biggest threats, I think, tomorrow. Emile Smith Rowe got one of his early starts of the season against Chelsea in that Boxing Day game and played really well. Scored last time against West Brom. He's been one of the shining lights of a pretty dour season. Pepe has actually had a pretty decent season, to be honest. Willian, of course, getting his first goal before facing Chelsea. At least he wasn't scoring his first goal against Chelsea, but you never know, maybe in fine form going into this game after scoring one of his trademark free kicks. I think the biggest talent in this current Arsenal side is Bukayo Saka. He very much is the inspirational figure. You know, of course, you've got the goal scorers like Lacazette and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, but both of those players haven't really hit the heights this season. I think Saka has been that player that you watched. It is an inspirational figure, still has a long way to go in his career. I think there are parts of his game finishing wise, I think he needs to get a lot better, but he gets himself into really good positions. And I think potentially at left back role, I think Kieran Tierney is back fit, so potentially Saka could be further up the pitch in this game, depending on what formation Mikel Arteta goes for. And Elneny and Tobias was the midfield two last time, so he may go for that. I know Thomas Partey recently has been struggling with fitness problems. I think the thing for me going into this game for Chelsea is just a better intensity. I mean, we did not show up against Arsenal, and you could argue we didn't show up against them properly in the FA Cup final when we went 1-0 up as well. Of course, we had major injuries that day. Pulisic, Dave getting injured, the red card for Kovacic late on, all the shenanigans with Anthony Taylor. So it's really hard to gauge Chelsea tactically going into this game against Arsenal because we just didn't show up last time. And Chelsea of Boxing Day are very different to the Chelsea now under Thomas Tuchel. What I really want Chelsea to be is that intensity, that pressing that we've seen. I want Chelsea to really go at Arsenal tomorrow night and really try and expose the frailties of this side, you know, really question the mentality of these Arsenal players, because are they really fighting for Mikel Arteta? You know, if they feel that their season is basically done, which is kind of is at this point, you know, it's based on, are they going to finish 9th? Are they going to finish 10th? Maybe lower than that at this point. Chelsea need to go out there like a team hunting to try and not only redeem what happened on Boxing Day, but also finish top 4. That should be the main aim tomorrow night for me. And my predicted lineup, I'm going for one lineup. You know, guys, I usually give you 2 or 3 lineups. I'm going to try and stick my neck out here and give you one predicted lineup. I think it will be very strong, very close to a first team, but I do get the sense that Tuchel may still be resting some players based on performances that probably impressed him at the weekend. Of course, injuries too. So this is my lineup: Mendy, Dave, Zuma, Rudiger, James, Gilmore, Jorginho, Alonso, Mount, Hudson-Odoi and Kai Havertz. So my thinking behind this is you want to rest Thiago Silva. I think we still can rest Thiago for the weekend. I could absolutely understand seeing Thiago's name in this starting lineup. You know, the way we build up attacks very much from that back three. And especially Arsenal, who I would expect under Arteta to come to the bridge and sit a lot deeper and try and maybe hit us on the counter a bit more if they want to use Aubameyang potentially on the break and Saka too. I could understand doing that, so potentially you would want sort of a more progressive passer in that back three. You know, Kurt Zouma at times has really struggled in the middle of a back three. He works better on either side personally, but you do have the aerial threat from Zouma from set pieces too that Arsenal struggle to defend pretty consistently. So that's why I'd like to see Zouma in the back three. I think keeping Rudiger is such a big player for Chelsea in terms of the way we press. I mean, if you haven't seen it, I definitely suggest go and watch a video Sky put up from Monday Night Football where Jamie Carragher was analysing Chelsea tactically from our performance against Man City at the weekend. What was really interesting to me was the way we deal with our pressing in and out of possession, and at times it looks like a 4-2-3-1. I'll show you the graphic on screen now. At times at the weekend, and this is very much with my personnel that I've put up of what I expect the team to be tomorrow night, but it was very similar, where as we know, Rudiger very aggressive with his defending, was pressing up against Man City, and at times really making the formation, switching it a little bit, going alongside the double six that was of course N'Golo Kante on Saturday. You'd see Billy Gilmour press up to more of a number 10 position, making it more of a 4-2-3-1. Marcus Alonso covering back to make it a 4-back system alongside Dave. I think it was Christensen, of course, Reece James on Saturday evening, and I think you'd see similar in this game. I think what it shows you is the way Tuchel's been able to implement a proactive defensive sort of structure and setup for Chelsea that they're so used to now, and being able to shift out of a 4-back system to a 3-back system, be so proactive with our pressing, the way we press in numbers now to shift and put pressure on teams. The counter press has been one of the most tangible things you've seen improve over the time with Thomas Tuchel. At times, we've struggled sort of with the attacking fluidity and sort of our clinical edge in the final third. One thing that has been present since the Wolves game, his very first game at Chelsea, Tuchel's counter press, and that's been sort of a trademark thing of Chelsea that's only improved and only got better. Our work off the ball is so good, and I think game by game our work on the ball is improving too. The reason I picked my team, I think Billy Gilmour deserves another start. I thought he was outstanding on Saturday evening. Of course, he made that mistake for the penalty, but I thought all round a player of his age who hasn't always been trusted by Tuchel, getting 2 Premier League starts in a row, so this could be his 3rd Premier League start. And I also think that, resting N'Golo Kante while you can, getting ready for that FA Cup final. I'm pretty sure Tuchel will be thinking slightly about the FA Cup final, and both Gilmour and Jorginho in fine form at the moment, have full trust in them to control this game, to add the I think the mobility at times that Gilmour can add. I think Gilmour will be the one pressing up a little bit more in this double six rather than Georgie can, but we know the levels Georgie has been showing recently. Marcus Alonso, I'd prefer to still bring back Ben Chilwell for his overall play, but I just wonder if Tuchel will reward Marcus Alonso for his big goal and performance at the weekend. I think he had a really strong performance in a way. Both wing-backs will press up. I think Chelsea will have license and space to press up with both Marcus Alonso and Reece James. I think Reece James will play at right wing-back after an excellent performance against Man City at the weekend. I do think Mason Mount, who got a full rest against Man City at the weekend, will come back into the side here. I still think it's a big game, and I'd like to see Callum Hudson-Odoi start this game. I think potentially, I've got it on the graphic here on the left, I actually think he would work better on the right, that we saw him come off the bench for Ziyech, I think, at the weekend, where him and James, the link up on that side was really devastating. And I'd like to see Cho further up the pitch, actually, because I think he can have more influence in that attacking final third. His passing, the pass he set up for Timo Werner that eventually found its way to Marcus Alonso, I think was so devastating. So I think Callum Hudson-Odoi, a big chance to give him some minutes here. Ziyech scored at the weekend, so you could see him come back in here. Christian Pulisic too. So many options in that front three. I would like to see Kai Havertz be given a chance at number 9, because every time I see Kai as our number 9, I'm thoroughly impressed by his play. I think he gets better and better in terms of finishing, but also just all round physically, the way he has a focal point there. And I think Timo deserves a rest. I think Timo may be given a rest just off the bench potentially, if Tuchel wants to use him off the bench, but I think just potentially saving him for the game at the weekend, and why you potentially want to save Ben Chilwell, Thiago Silva, other players too, Kante. I think you want to be looking towards that FA Cup final, because it is such a great opportunity for Chelsea. But as we've seen with Tuchel, like on Saturday, when he rotates, when he rests players, you've still got to have full belief that any team at the moment Tuchel selects can go out and get a big result. And trust me, tomorrow night, despite where Arsenal currently sit in the context of this Premier League season, is a massive result for Chelsea. I think if we can win tomorrow night, I think we all feel very confident that top 4 is all but, I think, secured for Chelsea. I think it really is. Even if Liverpool do get a good result against Man United on Thursday evening, I still have confidence Chelsea can beat Leicester next week and also get it done potentially on the final day if it gets to then. This is what I think both lineups will look at. I think that potentially Arteta will stick with the 4-2-3-1 that worked against West Brom at the weekend. He changes so many formations at the moment, so it's quite hard to predict what formation Arteta will go for, but I think he potentially will stick with this. I think Smith Rowe will play a key part. I think Pepe will start. I think Willian will start, and I think actually Aubameyang may come in, who's been struggling with fitness, actually may come in for Martinelli in this game to add potentially that counter-attacking threat and goal-scoring ability that he does have. But that is my lineup, my tactical preview, my sort of thoughts ahead of this big game for Chelsea tomorrow night. Let me know your thoughts and your lineup ahead of the game in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this preview. If you did enjoy it, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Follow me on Twitter at SonOfChelsea, and I'll see you again.